Hi guys, and welcome to Virtual Public Art Studio, Session 2. My name is Deborah Barrera, and I'm here to help you make this awesome project. It is inspired by two pieces in our collection, Jacob Hashimoto's Cloud Deck, which hangs in the UH downtown Shea Street building in the atrium. The second is Aaron Parazette's Remembering Next Summer, which is in the UH main campus at the Student Center South. So gather your materials and let's get started on making this really cool piece.
You will need the following materials: string, like fishing wire or monofilament, thread or curling ribbon, wire hangers and invisible tape, and colorful cardstock. You can also use old stationery, holiday cards, or used school note cards.
Okay, so you have all your materials. You can use one hanger or two. One, of course, is going to take a little less time and be a little easier. But you don't need to worry about the hanger just yet. What you want to focus on to start with is what colors you want to use out of whatever you have at home, your cardstock or holiday cards or stationery, what kind of shape you want to make, and that's going to be what you're focused on first. So you can set everything else aside and you can kind of go through your colors. Or if everything's the same color, then it's a little easier. What you want to make sure you have, though, is two sides to all of your pieces that are going to be in your mobile. So say like black and white. You want to be sure that you cut these pieces together. So that's kind of the first step. So take a second to look over what you have and see what you want to do, see what colors you want to play with, and set aside kind of piles of two different colors or two different sides of your pieces. Now that you know the colors that you want to use, this is the most fun and easy part to create your mobile pieces. So you can see in this finished piece, they all look pretty uniform, but actually all these pieces were cut by eye. And they didn't take very long to cut. I didn't measure anything. And so the way to do that is first you want to decide what type of shape you want your pieces to be. So here's examples of other shapes that I created. For example, if you want, it takes a little more time, but here's a circle. And the trick to creating these what look like uniform pieces but aren't really, are just folding them. So here you can see I took a circle, two sides, and I folded it into a kind of a triangle shape. And every single one of these is slightly different, but the fold is relatively the same. And so you can cut, your circles, or this one here was a kind of big rectangle, and I just folded kind of two folds in one direction, one in the other, to create different 3D pieces. But if you're starting with relatively the same shape, whether it's a triangle, square, or rectangle, as long as it's around the same size, you can create this kind of illusion that they're all relatively the same shape. Here's another example of triangles, I think, yes. So here you can see I had triangular shapes that I folded. And even these you can see are very different in their size and how the angles were. But when you see them all together, they still really work as mobile pieces. So in the mobile that you saw, that I made, the complete one, what I did was simply cut out rectangles. Rectangles are pretty easy. You can cut in strips and you can eyeball them. You can see they're relatively small. They're about 2 inches long and maybe 1 inch across. And I just folded them twice to make for a simple, easy mobile piece. But take a second and maybe try a few pieces, a few different shapes, and see which one you like the most. And of course, you can do many different shapes if you want, but if you want a more uniform looking mobile, then you want to kind of stick to around the same, either a rectangle, square, circle, etc. Okay, so you have all your papers together. You know what you're gonna do as far as maybe your shapes and colors. Now is the fun and pretty easy part. So get your kids involved or other family members or your roommates, and you can kind of go and start cutting your pieces. So your pieces, you can really just eyeball them. If you really want to be precise, sure, you can, use a ruler and do all that. But honestly, because this craft is so fun and easy and there's a lot of leeway for what you're gonna do, you can just go ahead and eyeball. So if you want, what I did with my mobile is I kind of went straight down like this and created like long strips of the paper and then cut those strips into smaller rectangles. So that's one way to do it, but of course it's up to you what shape you're gonna make. If you want, you can also, like here's an example of some triangles. There's a triangle there, and then you kind of have to get creative. It isn't as straightforward as these strips. The strips I think were the easiest, quickest way to make this mobile, but as you can see here, not perfect, no big deal, but you still have relatively the same shapes. And so from there, you have these two different ways of doing this. You can take your shapes and then start folding. On these rectangles, like what I did for my mobile, I felt that it was best just to have two folds. So the smaller the piece, it just depends on how much time you want to spend, but probably two folds is good for smaller pieces. And then you can do more folds on bigger pieces. But you can see here, it's not a perfect science, but still they come out and they look really good once they're all folded up. And here you can see an example of a triangle. This one we can really get fun with where we fold. And what's really great is it makes this whole totally new shape, but it still looks uniform, especially for a mobile, when they're all kind of dancing around, hung by a string. You really start to see that unless you want it to be more perfect or more uniform, these fun new shapes you can create by folding really give you a nice, still uniform look, but still keeps it fun and interesting. So now that you have your smaller pieces that you want to make for your mobile, you need to decide how long you want your mobile strip to be. This piece is a little less than 2 feet long, but it's up to you how long you want it to be. I mean, you can really go for it, do 6 feet, or you can keep it kind of small and only do small sections. But it's very simple once you get your pieces lined up. You just take your string and measure how much you want, how much length, and cut it. This string here is, I think it's jewelry, like for beading. It's kind of stretchy. You don't need the stretch. I mean, it's probably easier to just use thread or twine or fishing wire. Fishing wire is going to give you the most, it's going to look more invisible than any other kind of thread. But if you want, if you have lots of thread at home, use different colors and get creative. What you want to do now is you have your two pieces that you've already kind of molded to each other. And what is going to happen, you're going to hide your string in one of the foldable areas there. And you just take some tape and voila. That really is it to put your thread in there. And then you take your other piece and make sure that it fits right. And then you just put another tape, a little loop of tape, to attach the two pieces together. You could use glue if you wanted, but because we're dealing with just paper and really light thread or string, you don't need glue. And that's what's really great about, there we go. And that's what's really great about this craft, is that you don't need a lot of gooey stuff. You can make this really easily. And you can see there, I hid the bottom. So that's going to be the bottom of your mobile string. And then I just kept going from there to get one long string of pieces. And you just keep going with the hiding the string into the fold of one of your pieces and then securing that top piece onto it with tape. You might go through one of these, but maybe that's okay. I think the end result is so clean and nice and easy that it's totally worth it.
All right, you have completed your mobile. If you made two, you can see here how if you put one hanger into the other in a crisscross shape, you can double up your mobile for this effect. You can really see how it is inspired by Jacob Hashimoto and Aaron Parazette. We also want to see what you have created at home. So hashtag #PublicArtUHS or share your images with us on Facebook. We would love to see what you have created. Thank you for joining me on Public Art Studio, and I hope to see you next time.